Welcome to the sunny southeast.
Uh-huh.
I suppose I could have told them we were coming. We're in Kilkenny. Behind us here is Kilkenny Castle, and we're obviously going to go visit a local watering hole while we're in the lovely city of Kilkenny.
Right, let's go. Get out of the rain. Just bring your sun cream.
I did actually bring my sun cream and I'm wearing my hat.
Do you know that this castle is famous for orgies?
And dog shows.
Dog shows and
Oh
orgies.
no, sorry, dog and shows.
Welcome to episode 11 of Poor Decisions. My name is Ronan Collins, or Whiskey for Breakfast.
And my name is Michael Cowman, or The Cowman Show.
Episode 11. Well done, us.
Yeah, well done. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to the dozens and dozens of you who've tuned in for the journey.
Yeah, and to celebrate that, we have got something special.
I think this is a mark of the hospitality where we are. This is a 1952 Jameson, all right? This is quite cool. I actually love this because it's bottled by J. Donoghue Enniscorthy. So if it's a 1952, so until 1962, what Jameson did was they tended to sell their casks out and people would bottle them themselves individually. It wasn't until 1962 when Crested 10 was introduced that they brought everything in-house.
Yeah.
But this dates from that older period, that 50s period, would have been the Bow Street Distillery, I think this would have been distilled in. So this is a really cool piece of history.
But like that, there's all like great information and stuff, which I have kind of not listened to because Enniscorthy, that's where you used to go to the disco as a kid.
That's who I played rugby for. That's where I went to disco as a kid. And I tell you, there hasn't been many bottles of whiskey bottled in Enniscorthy since then.
I think that's way better.
Yeah, that's quite cool.
Yeah, so cheers.
Sláinte.
I know, sláinte.
To another 11 episodes.
Oh, delicious. Oh, yeah.
Big, creamy, oily, pot still, this looked like. Yeah. Delicious.
Tastes like whiskey. So today we are in Brewery Corner in Kilkenny City.
Yeah, Kilkenny City. It is very important to state that it is a city. It has a cathedral. It's a city of about 27,000 people. So, you know, it is one of our smaller cities. But it is a
medieval city?
It is a medieval
city. You
city.
walk around and it's almost like you're an extra in Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
you know,
and it is known as the Marble City.
Why?
Because the game of marbles was invented. No. So there's a local stone, it's Kilkenny Black Limestone, and they call that marble, and a lot of the buildings are built out of it, so hence the Marble City.
Is it just because it looks like marble? It's not marble, it's limestone.
Yeah, I'm not a geologist, I don't know. But yeah, I think
And neither are the people of Kilkenny, apparently. It's limestone, lads.
But no, it is a great city. It's a great place to come out for a few drinks.
Yeah.
I mean, you haven't been here a huge amount of times.
No, only been here once, and that was passing through to like distilleries and stuff. But isn't there some mad fact that there's like 3,000 bars per person or something in this town?
The way the demographics work out or whatever. I mean, it is a huge drinking town, and that is, again, I feel like we always come back to this. Stags and hen parties are massive in Kilkenny, but it is a great city for a night out. I'm only from 40 minutes down the road, 45 minutes down the road, so we used to come up here a bit. But yeah, great city, and inevitably you'll end up in a place called the Left Bank, which is up the road, massive, old school, bit of a nightclub kind of vibes, you know. So yeah, but a city well worth coming for a few drinks.
I haven't been there yet, but maybe someday. But kind of when you walk around town, obviously you see all the like castles and turrets and like
Kilkenny Castle, you know, nice grounds in the city here. Other things, it's known for hurling, you know, quite famous for hurling.
I suppose hurling,
not a thing in Down.
Not a thing in Down. So anytime I would hear of hurling, you would just think Kilkenny, like straight away.
Yeah, well, they have been reasonably good over the years. And obviously I'm from Wexford, we're next door. So most of the time I was spending in Kilkenny was coming up to Nolan Park, which is the stadium here, to watch us get absolutely roasted by Kilkenny for many, many years. In the last few years, it's turned around a little bit. But they keep winning All-Irelands occasionally, and, you know, we still win fuck all. So, you know, that's fine. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, then drinks-wise, just to bring it away from the sad loss when you play Kilkenny and hurling. But one thing that a lot of people might know about Kilkenny is it's the home of Smithwick's.
Yeah, home of Smithwick's Red Ale.
Red Ale, yeah.
I think we looked at the stats recently, and, you know, Ireland is 55% lager, 35% stout, and then like 5%, I think maybe it was 5% cider, and then like 2.5% red ale, or ale. So ale isn't as big a thing in Ireland as, say, in the UK, where ale is huge, but Kilkenny, that red ale is a huge part of Kilkenny. Smithwick's is now owned by Diageo, I think.
Okay.
But it's not made here anymore. But there is a Smithwick's experience that you can go and do a little tour around and stuff. So there is definitely a drinks heritage to Kilkenny as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Red Book of Ossary.
Yeah, the Red Book of Ossary. And this is something when we get our guest on, he knows a lot more about this than I do. But it was one of the first mentions anywhere ever of Ishkabar or whiskey. Yeah, that's quite a claim to fame as well, I guess.
Proving that Ireland invented whiskey. You're welcome, world.
Yeah. There's somebody sent me that meme the other day. It's, if you look on Wikipedia, it's inventions from Ireland, and it's whiskey, and then there's a 300-year gap to the next invention. That was just because back in the day things weren't recorded. That's all. That's Kilkenny in a nutshell. There's some quite cool stories. You've some quite cool bars. Maybe we'll touch on some witch trials. Who knows?
That's right. Yeah, it's Witch Town, eh?
Well, there is a story. So there's a bar here in town called Kittler's Inn.
Okay.
And really, really cool bar if you're here. But there was a story that this woman, Alice Kittler, in the 1300s. So I think she went through like 4 or 5 husbands, which in the 1300s, people start to get suspicious. And so eventually she ended up being burned at the stake as a witch. And I think she may have been the last person burned at the stake in Ireland as a witch.
But because she burned, does that mean that she wasn't a witch?
Well, witches don't exist, Ronan. So
that's because we burned them all.
Yeah. And we got rid of all the snakes.
So you're welcome.
Yeah. World, you're welcome. No snakes and no witches in Ireland.
But we brought whiskey.
But yeah, that seems like a good opportunity to get our guest in because he definitely knows a lot more about the city and a lot more about the history.
And everything else, to be honest.
So we're in Brewery Corner. So Mr. Chris Hennessy, one of the managers here, is going to come and have a little chat with us.
Deadly. Come on in, Chris. How are you, Chris?
All going well. Yourselves?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Yeah, good. I mean, welcome to your bar. Welcome to the podcast. We're here in Brewery Corner in Kilkenny.
Welcome back to Kilkenny.
Yeah, great place to be. Why would you want to be anywhere else?
Ronan for the second time and Michael once every couple of months.
Yeah, when you can be in the sunny southeast, why wouldn't you be?
Very true. It was very sunny that day we were in the sunny southeast. It's raining today.
Yeah.
It was sunny up until they landed. It was raining as soon as she landed.
And by they, he means the crew. That's how we refer to them. Those behind the scenes.
So Brewery Corner, this is your love child. You've curated it from nothing.
This is my safe space.
Your safe space.
Yes. This is year 18 in the industry. This is the lovely place I get to come in, walk around and move everything where I want it to be and decorate everything eventually the way I want it to be. So this is a bit of fun because every whiskey in the building, every cocktail, everything comes down to myself and the guys. Lovely team's decisions, so we're happy out.
Is this, you've pulled out this little bottle here, right? Is this representative of what you're trying to do in here, or is this...
This would be one of the few tastings that myself and Ryan have been kind of doing over the last year and a half, where we use the likes of Anthony and Irish Whiskey Auctions and a few little curators like that, and pick out some nuggets that mightn't necessarily have the greatest looking labels, but liquid level is obviously the most important thing about it, cork conditions and everything like that.
Yeah.
And picking up little nuggets around that are representative of certain eras.
Tell us a little bit about this bottle, because I think it's important. You just pulled this out, so I think it's important we give this a little bit of time before we move on to the rest, because it is quite a special bottle.
This one is from circa 1952. The person who originally bought it moved out of Ireland in 53, so we know it's no older than that, no younger than that. It's a 7-year-old pure pot still, not a drop sold. It was 7 years old, would have been the original sticker on the bottom. That's since disappeared. Yeah. This one was whipped out for a tasting about 10 weeks ago. It was a Jameson era tasting, so this was something from the old Bow Street Distillery, and then the next 5 pours were from Bow Street down to Middleton and then distilled in Middleton physically itself. There was 4 different 12-year-olds and then the Macroney edition, the original version of the gold. So it was just showing the process of what they were doing on Bow Street, different types of cereals they were using until they got to Middleton, until some of the liquid 100% done in cork.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I got that right, because I said Bow Street, and I'm happy. And that was without any information beforehand, so I'm happy about that.
You nailed it. And Chris, so you obviously do you find these super rare bottles and you host them here in Brewery Corner, but behind us you can see you also have all the modern stuff, and you kind of go out of your way to make sure that Irish whiskey is represented. And then right behind us here, you've got just tons and tons of cocktails. So you kind of blend both worlds together.
We sneak in as many Irish ingredients as humanly possible and try use all the smaller distilleries, smaller brands, just to give them a little bit of a boost. Because, in fairness, I know the venue isn't massive; it only sits 63 people. But if you can do X amount of cases a year of a very small brand, it's a big boost for them. It's another kind of tick in the box. They get the money back in. They can afford marketing to do bigger projects in bigger spaces.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the menu, you have everything called out on the menu. You have your cologne, you have Panger, which is again cologne, Dingle, Hennessey. That must be your own brand, is it? Copeland's. You know, you have a
7
huge
generations back. But
but you have a huge variety of stuff from all over the island. So and you're a big supporter of doing stuff that's a little bit, I guess, that other bars aren't doing a huge amount of, like Killahora and places like that as well.
You'll find Killahora in a lot of 5-star places, and we'll pretend that we are too by sneaking in. But no, they're just one of the smaller brands that are very famous in Cork at the moment. But outside of Cork, we're beginning to hear about them. It's kind of like here, 1661, and a few different places around. And the work in which they're doing behind the scenes is extremely just, and they deserve a little bit of a platform.
Well, they've been around for about 50 years, I think, haven't they?
But there's...
Now's their time
maybe
to
one
shine.
of the two of you, maybe one of the two you asked earlier on. So what's the story with them?
Yeah.
So if they've been around for 50 years, again, a lot of things have been around for a couple hundred years in Cork that Laurie might have told us about.
So we mentioned there in the intro just about Kilkenny, and we talked about the Red Book of Ossary. And you know a bit more about it than us. You actually decided to recreate.
You translated it from Latin? Or you didn't personally.
I didn't personally.
But you got it translated from Latin to English.
From a couple different people, because Latin is one of those funny languages that when you read it, you interpret it. The next person reads it, interprets it.
Not funny, haha. Just in case
more like
anyone was
funny,
confused.
my face is sore.
Yeah.
Compounded Latin is essentially when you skip and, the, of, at.
Sorry, I'm going to stop you there.
Yeah.
Did you think you'd be hearing about compounded Latin today on Poor Decisions? You didn't, but anyway, keep going. So
you
compounded.
ask, you get.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry I did now.
So a 5-word sentence is realistically about 16 words. So it's filling in the gaps.
Okay.
2.5 pages of what was wrote is realistically about 16 pages long worth of information. The only thing I was able to contribute to is back when I was growing up, my mum would have had loads of flowers and herbs and spices, and when you buy them, they come with little flags, and the flags will say the Latin names and the English names. When it came to some of the ingredients, straight away you're like, that's cinnamon, that's ginger, that's grand.
Yeah, and sorry, the reason you wanted to translate it was because you wanted an ingredient list. What was it an ingredient list
But
for?
essentially, anyone who doesn't know what we're actually talking about right now, that possible original Irish whiskey recipe that was written in Red Book of Ossary, you and other Latin aficionados depicted it to try and remake the actual liquid itself.
It would have started off with a challenge from the lovely Fionn O'Connor.
Gets a lot of mentions on this.
He does,
and he should.
Yeah,
and get a lot more too.
Yeah.
Have you done an episode with him?
No, he's too expensive. We can't
What do you mean, have we? You've watched them all.
You haven't released everything yet. So
damn it.
Don't let them behind the curtain. Anyway, sorry, you were saying,
Yeah, so he's able to research all these different things, but obviously doesn't have the facility to recreate things, so gave me the challenge of doing it and spent about 3.5 years trying to figure it out, and eventually got the iterations in which you can get and sit on the backdrop. But yeah, the kind of, other than the liquid side of it, the hook, line and sinker is you walk for 3 minutes this way, you have a really tall tower, and that's actually where the recipe originally stemmed from. That may be the reasons why I moved from one side of the city to the other to get as close as humanly possible.
No way.
That could be it. Sure.
Maybe, yeah.
And what you've created, we wouldn't. I guess we wouldn't recognize it as whiskey now. It's Ishkabaha, and I mean that's the name of the brand as well.
It's recognizing poitín as whiskey.
Yeah.
From a heritage point, you taste it side by side, you would never say the word whiskey.
Yeah.
It's just circumstances after circumstances, improving of methods and improving of. Back then, they used herbs and spices to play with flavors. Eventually they start being transported around. Casks replace those flavors. You have the likes of Mountain Dew up in the north, where the cask contributes enough flavor that you don't need the likes of bog bean or herbs and spices.
Yeah, because and cloves and stuff, like, they would have been quite exotic at the time. Yeah.
That's the reason why this was made in a cathedral where you have unbelievable amounts of wealth,
Because the priests have loads of money.
Yes, and it's made for the likes of, say, Queen Elizabeth in the 1500s, because again, you have money upon money upon money. But you eventually get recipes where they're using tinctures, like they take a small bit of saffron and they'll lengthen it out with a lot of booze, and that's put in like bitters into small proportions.
So not only did the Irish invent whiskey, we also invented cocktails. Is that what you're...
One can stem from the other, because bitters' history is all through apothecaries, and apothecaries are just playing with herbs and spices for the water of life. They're trying to create elixirs to prolong your life. These alcohols in the 12, 13 and 1400s, they're essentially people trying to play with and extend your life, and that's why Aqua Vitae, water of life, Ishkabaha, water of life.
Yeah.
And you can
Aqua Vitae, I called it, Ishkabaha.
But you can actually buy your Aqua Vitae online. It's commercially released. I think you're on batch 2 or 3 now?
5.
Oh, no way. Wow.
a couple of batches.
6 on the pots.
So if anyone does want to try what essentially could be deemed to be the original Orient,
one of the original
Irish whiskies.
Yeah,
that's where to go. And it's very much like what I would consider like a modern day like French herbal liqueur sort of thing. Maybe not with the sugar content, but with the spice content. It's mad.
If you've ever had the original version of, say, chartreuse, it essentially eliminate the sugar from the process and it becomes bitter, floral, almost like a herb garden. That side of things.
Again, that was monks as well, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the monks.
Monks love it.
Yeah. Do you know what my favourite monk invention is, apart from Buckfast? I mean, Dom Perignon, champagne.
Well, that's class, Chris. You seem like you're doing like tons. We know you're doing tons, like for the general Irish whiskey scene and Kilkenny. And then you've got the Guild in Kilkenny, which you do a lot with. You do a lot of tastings here. You bring a lot of people all around Ireland here. As a focal point for it all. I'm
going to lower the tone slightly.
Go for it.
I mean, you do get a lot. You don't do so many stags and hen parties in here, I guess, anymore, do you? Or do you do quite a few?
Craft beer naturally filters out certain people.
So is craft beer then another like kind of cornerstone of the
Brewery Corner?
Brewery Corner, yeah.
What was you putting that today together? Yeah. Brewery Corner probably do a bit of craft beer.
Oh yeah. Well, there's loads of cocktails and whiskey. It's not called Cocktail Corner.
But that's a different section. Tell us a little bit about the kind of beer, the beer element, I guess.
The beer element. The place is owned by Seamus O'Hara from O'Hara Brewing. Spoiler, they're going there later. So the 11 of the taps that we have would be all O'Hara's products. Some of them constantly rotating depending on what experiments they're doing. And then we have 5 rotational taps. One will always be a world beer. We'll pull it from somewhere. At the moment it's from Croatia. And the other 4 will be dedicated to Ireland. So different breweries, different SKUs, constantly rotated. About once every 3 days, all 5 of them will have eventually swapped over once we get through the multitude of kegs on each line. And we have fun ourselves by turning up every day. There's either a new whiskey, a new beer, or we're doing new versions of Boilermakers. So it's constantly getting the guys to re-educate themselves and have some fun.
Push something a little bit different. Yeah.
Well, which is class, and I'm sure we're going to grab one of those beers shortly. But we always have a question. This is your favourite question.
This is my favourite question. So, Chris, I know you've watched every episode diligently. Mm-hmm. So, we do a thing called Room 101. So, at the end of each interview, we ask the interviewee one thing that they would like to confine to Room 101 forever. It's gone. Shadows and dust.
Lock it.
Yeah, key never exists again. So, I mean, we've had people stealing your glassware. We've had people asking for a pint at a minute to closing time.
The term mixologist was there.
Yeah. So, what have you got for us?
That really irks you.
That grinds your gears.
That grinds my gears. I was wondering if you were going to say it. It would have to be the cocktail balcony, I think is the terminology for it, where you have a station behind the bar and you get that one eager couple who come in only to sit directly in front of you and not to have a conversation with you, to spend the next 3 hours going, and what's that? And what's that? And what's this drink? And every time you're trying to think to yourself, the 7 ingredients which is in a recipe, they have to ask you about something that you've already done before, and they have distracted so many bartenders from making so many very good drinks that they probably, as you're swiping the bottle, you should probably connect with the tip of their nose. just as a warning.
They've come in for dinner and a show.
They have come in to eat your patience as
Okay.
their dinner.
I'm
The
thinking,
cocktail balcony. I've never heard.
I've never heard that term, but it's
that
quite
term.
good.
So that's new. That's in the room. You know, beep beep beep. Gone. Codes forgotten.
Yeah, people that you're stuck in there now.
Yeah.
With the people who steal glassware, and it's just a room full of vape smoke.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, but Chris, that was I think that was brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Before
much.
you go, actually, or on your way out, you mentioned O'Hara's local brewery. Could you give us two of the? Do they have a red ale?
They do indeed.
Yeah.
Is that like what you would recommend?
The Nitro Red, the creamy version, very similar to Pint of Kilkenny in Kilkenny, which is from Kilkenny, made in Dublin. This would be more of a local version.
Oh yeah, love it. Creamy Kilkenny red ale made in Kilkenny.
To match up with our 1952 Jameson. Yeah, let's do that.
Well, mine's gone.
Chris, thank you very much. Cheers.
Cheers,
No
Chris.
worries at all. And off he goes to work.
So this is O'Hara's Red Ale Nitro Stout.
Yeah, it actually had-
not stout. Nitro
Red ale.
Red Ale, yeah.
It actually had to settle though as well because Chris was pulling it, and I was like, "Oh, that actually I have to leave it settle." Cheers. So delicious, made locally.
Oh, quite honey notes.
That's lovely actually.
That is.
I do like a red ale. They tend to be kind of a little bit lower in ABV, so if you're
Yeah.
just having a couple or whatever, can be quite a nice option to have.
In Kilkenny so far, we've been talking quite a lot about like its history, its heritage, castles, old books,
Old stuff,
old
Latin.
stuff. But as we actually walked around earlier, there's quite like a lot of modern cool wee things. We actually had like this really cool coffee shop. Had a
Yeah.
couple of. They have their own roastery.
Cake face.
Cake face,
Yeah, and they do very good cake as well as one would expect.
but not too many faces. There was less faces on cakes than I was expecting.
Yeah.
But it was a specialty roastery, and so it's like quite a coolly modern town. But then I suppose the question is, where in Ireland doesn't have their own specialty coffee place?
Yeah,
these
I mean,
days?
even Dundalk had some.
Yeah.
Ireland has developed quite a culture in the last number of years
for coffee.
for coffee.
Yeah.
I mean, Irish people leave and we come back. You know, we've gone away. We've gone to the homes of coffee in Australia and places like that, and we've come back. I mean, I was in Dublin the other day, and I was in a particular coffee shop, and I like my coffee. I went in and I was chatting to the guy. There was nobody else in. And he was like, "Oh, we have this geisha coffee. You know, it's like a pour over geisha. So geisha coffee is like a very high end.
Yeah.
You know,
Like rare, hard to find.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't get too many places in Dublin doing
No.
it. So we were just having a chat. And he goes, "Would you like the geisha coffee?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, sure." And I expected it to be a little bit more expensive. It was 12 quid. It was 12 euro. I went up afterwards. I was like, "Right, yeah, you did me there." No, he hasn't burned it because it was very good.
But it was still like, oh, you dig in the ribs, and you're like, oh, like €4 I thought was expensive.
€4 is mental.
Yeah.
These days but that's what it costs everywhere. And
Well, they actually say, just like in the coffee culture world, they say we are in the third wave of the coffee culture. Boom.
yeah,
And essentially what that means is we are like in this third wave, it's all about like high product, specialty grown, small farms, known origin. Whereas the second wave was like whatever.
Starbucks.
Starbucks, yeah, starting in Seattle.
Okay.
And like them or lump them, they're the ones who kind of created all this coffee
The
culture.
modern coffee culture.
Yeah.
They built out the macro, and the micro comes from that, I guess. Yeah, because I think the coffee culture in the US prior to that, for example, was a lot of like that filter drip coffee, Dunkin' Donuts, that
which
kind
is
of stuff.
still there.
Yeah.
But, you know, that specialty side, even when I used to live in New York, which was about 12 years ago, I used to buy the 3-liter boxes from Dunkin' Donuts of like boxed coffee.
As in it was made.
So it was pre-made filter coffee in this big box, like with the wee like pour spout at the end. And I used to just stick it in the microwave and drink that before I went to work. I know, it's very different now.
Oh, what are you meant to do with that?
I think you were meant to microwave it.
Oh my sweet Jesus.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think obviously working in drinks. So the first thing I got into before like whiskey and drinks, I
Yeah.
got into coffee originally.
Okay.
And I think there's a lot of overlap in terms of, we were kind of, coffee talks about single origin, single estate. I think whiskey is moving towards that. And obviously wine has a lot of, that single origin.
Crossovers in the terminology of flavor lexicon, like esters, congeners. But when you told me this story, which is brilliant, when you were getting into coffee, you still had some instant coffee when you were living on the ship.
Oh, and a friend of mine, if we like the finer things in life, he likes whatever the opposite of that is. You know, he likes to be down in the muck. And he used to steal my instant coffee because I used to buy nice instant coffee, like, you know, the slightly more expensive one. And he used to always steal it. But his
like the granules.
Yeah, the granules. Yeah, but his thing was like the cheaper the better. Was what he wanted. So one day I changed out all the granules for gravy granules, and he still drank it.
No,
he got about 3 sips into it, and went, something wrong with that.
Class.
So I mean,
I can't wait to meet him.
In Ireland, we have in the last number of years we've developed a coffee culture.
Yeah.
Where does it come from? I guess you look at the amount of people who have gone and lived in Australia, for example. I remember.
Well, they do say Melbourne is the coffee capital of the world.
Yeah.
Like flat whites were invented in Australia.
And they take it so seriously.
Yeah, but
you have this wave of immigrants post World War II, you know, Greek and Italian specifically, moving to Melbourne and bringing that culture with them. So when you go to, I think it's Richmond, maybe I think is the area.
Yeah, it's in Melbourne. I used to live there, actually.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of Italian area in Melbourne. I remember when I went to Melbourne and I was like, right? I was like, this is probably 8-9 years ago. So before it really, really kicked off here in Ireland, it was quite impressive to see the number of specialty coffee shops. And one of my favorite things, you know this, my favorite thing about Australian coffee culture is Starbucks tried to set up in Australia and they had to shut down loads because Australians were like, nah, not for me.
Yeah, because they support their own independence and their own chains better, which fair play to them. And like everything that we now kind of look at in terms of like coffee culture in Ireland stems from Australia. Like we have the Australian coffee culture over here.
Yeah.
Not to the same degree, but like I said, flat whites and stuff, because the Italian coffee culture is very different than what we have in Ireland.
Yeah, it's espresso, it's standing up. I mean, I was in Italy recently and you do feel very Italian. You just go into an espresso bar, you drink a little espresso and you just go.
And it's only a couple of quid.
The price is protected by law. So the most you can charge, I think, for a sit-down espresso is like €1 or 1.20 or something. And the most you can charge for a sit-down espresso is €2. And the most you can charge for a stand-up is like 1.20, 1.40, something like that.
No way.
So I remember we were in a beach club and I think it cost us, I don't know, 40 quid to be in the beach club for the day. But the coffee was still €1.
If you were standing.
If you were standing,
You know,
basically.
yeah, because you just have a quick one. There's a couple of venues in London, old Italian ones. If you come in and you just order it at the bar and it's just £1.
Yeah, it's class.
Love it.
Like that, we don't have value. I feel like we have very little value like that.
Yeah. But you also wouldn't order a flat white in Italy. Like classically, they wouldn't really appreciate that. And then after midday, if you order milk in any form.
Yeah, we ordered, we were out with friends when we were over there. And one of the girls with her dinner, so this is about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the evening, which is very early for an Italian dinner to be fair. After dinner, she asked for a cappuccino. And he was like, with your dinner, you want a cappuccino? And then he went, oh, I'm so sorry, my Italian came out. He goes, yeah, cappuccino, no problem.
Which is true. They kind of only have espresso after dinner, and then the chin.
After 12 in the day, you're done with cappuccinos.
And sometimes what they will do as well, maybe, I don't know if it's done all the time or whether it's just special occasions or weekends, but they might wash out their espresso cup with limoncello or sambuca and just knock it back.
Right. I mean, why not?
Yeah, and we would probably like read that and be like, oh my God, geez, they're just necking stuff. I was like, no, they still have a better acceptance of alcohol than we do.
Yeah.
So they know what they're doing.
They're much better dealing with it because we can't have nice things.
But we definitely can't.
But it has seeped into the drinks culture in the likes of Australia. You see a lot more coffee cocktails and stuff in Australia.
Yeah, loads more. Yeah, there's a bar, I think it's in Sydney, called Maybe Sammy, top 50, and Martin Houdink, he won the world's coffee roasting championship, world coffee championship.
The AeroPress championship or something?
It wasn't AeroPress. I think it was genuinely just the overall coffee. But he used to work at the Savoy, so he was a world class cocktail bartender and had won the Coffee World Cup. And he's got a book about coffee cocktails, and he's pretty much the number one in my opinion on both. And he lives in Australia, and I think he's just smashing it out of the park by bringing them two together.
Well, it just shows you the overlap between the two, I guess. And I think the funny thing, we look at Ireland, right? So what's Ireland most well known for in terms of cocktails? I guess?
Irish coffee.
Irish coffee. It is a coffee cocktail.
It is.
What is the most popular cocktail in Ireland? It has coffee in it.
Oh, espresso martini.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I was like really. It's like, oh, is it the Belfast coffee?
No.
Is it called the Banshee?
It's the
No, it's
espresso martini. You go into any bar in Dublin, Cork, Galway, whatever, and if they're making cocktails, the service area is just filled with empty martini
Yeah,
glasses.
with coffee beans all over the top of the bar.
Yeah.
It's a bloody brilliant drink.
It is, and I think you will know this better than I do. Bartenders tend to hate making them these days.
It kind of depends. I think it once upon a time was because then a lot of people would have had to draw the coffee up and like, where's the espresso machine or where's the kettle? Now, because of its popularity, a lot of people will just probably have a bottle of coffee pre-done. Ideally in the morning or before their shift, so it's cooled down a bit, because you don't want to be putting hot coffee in with ice.
Yeah.
Because then it'll just melt and you can't control the dilution. But it is a brilliant drink. I love a good espresso martini.
It is funny, again, Irish people, we do travel quite a lot, and it is funny to see those kind of elements of the coffee culture coming back from other countries as well. We have Vietnamese iced coffee.
Vietnamese coffee is just so different from the Italian and even the Australian style.
Yeah, it's the second largest producer in the world of coffee beans, but it's the Robusta beans, which are the kind of ones you make instant.
They're
from.
number one in the world for export.
They're number one in the world for export.
For that Robusta coffee
Okay.
bean
Yeah.
specifically is number one, which is mad.
And then a Vietnamese iced coffee is condensed milk, I think, over ice, a little bit sweeter, but like beautiful drink.
Yeah, and they're condensed milk because Vietnam's so hot, not got a big thing of dairy.
Yeah, we're the exception. In the 51% of the world are lactose intolerant.
And we're not.
We're not. Us and Denmark have the highest level of non-lactose intolerance.
No way.
Well, if you look at how Ireland developed.
No, I know, but I didn't know that.
It's just cows and dairy, yeah. So we're actually in the minority. So by being non-lactose intolerant. Because most of Asia and a lot of Africa tend to be lactose intolerant.
And we're not.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it?
Unbelievable. That's legendary.
Hey.
Last bit of mad coffee stuff that we spoke about once, and your partner Jen mentioned this one, which I think is just really economic diversification.
This is the Thailand one.
Yeah, this is mad.
So we were in Chiang Mai recently, which is the second biggest city in Thailand. Thailand doesn't have massive cities like Chiang Mai compared to Bangkok. You go to Bangkok, it feels like it is a mega city. You go to Chiang Mai, it's like, oh, it's kind of a big town. But it is a beautiful place, beautiful part of the world, and it's become a real hub for digital nomads and expats and this kind of thing. But one of the reasons was the king of Thailand, the old king. He died a few years back. Everybody was a big fan of him. Everybody up there was growing heroin and weed. All right, so all the farmers, because it was a high price, they were getting a high price.
Like poppies and stuff.
Yeah. Sorry, yes, opium.
Yeah.
Growing poppies and that kind of crack.
So which is illegal.
Which is illegal in more or less all countries. And what the king wanted to do was get people to move away from that illegal product to something that, was legal. So he got them to all move to coffee and to grow coffee because the conditions are pretty good for it. So in Chiang Mai now, there's a massive explosion of coffee shops and like really good specialist independent coffee shops up there as well. But that only makes sense because you have so many digital nomads and these kind of people.
And it's an influencer hotspot. It and Bali there's great Wi-Fi, and it happened after COVID. They all could work abroad doing marketing, photography, etc. From these places. But I didn't know that Chiang Mai had diversified from like poppy fields to coffee fields. They probably make more money.
I don't know if there's more money in coffee than heroin.
I know more people who drink coffee than opium.
There's probably more lads out there selling heroin, driving BMWs than there are selling coffee. I don't know.
I don't know. €12 like a cup in Dublin. You never know.
You never know.
You heard it here first. Coffee's doing well.
Yeah, coffee's doing well. Would you like a little snack? I have a little snack for you.
Yeah. I actually can't even see it. I'm so excited. Where is it?
Welcome to Mick's Pyramid of Snacks.
I love this bit.
Yeah, love this bit. So on the pyramid, currently at the apex of the pyramid.
Oysters. And we've actually been getting a bit of grief about the oysters. People are saying that we have notions, whawing away with those oysters at the top of it. People aren't too happy with it.
Well, that's not really my problem. And then at the bottom, in danger today, all right, the one that's in peril is the dairy milk bar.
Oh, it's the bottom.
Yeah, it's the bottom. Because we've moved away from chocolate and we moved to like salty, savory. At the moment, it's a lot of crisps. And of course, an oyster is quite a savory, salty kind of thing as well. And today we have something that is quite salty as well, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, so producer Agostina, if you would. So today we have Pepperami.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Pepperami?
I know what they are. I've never had one.
They are sticks of meat. So this is made with 100% pork.
Okay.
And you can see on the front, like, their big thing at the moment. So they've obviously tried to rebrand a little bit, and they're all about the protein kick. Because everything, just stick the word protein on something these days, and that will...
It's healthier.
It's healthier, yeah. And people have that impression. All right, so...
Before I left London, I did see that there was a whole beer stick craze where it was like fancy salami and fancy stuff, and it was in like a pint glass, like straws, and some people would stick it in their beer, or some people would eat it alongside their beer as an accompaniment.
Right, well, alongside is fine. I mean, I'm okay with this as a snack, all right? So 117 calories per stick, around since 1979, 100% pork.
Mine says 112 calories per stick.
Or whatever.
No, I'm just saying, like, maybe I have a low fat one.
Yeah, you have the low calorie stick. So you have to take the plastic off it as well.
Made the smell.
Well, it's to keep it fresh.
No, but why can I smell it?
It looks like a little cigar. Yeah, you're going to have a little... So have a little taste of your meat stick. What do you think of that? Salty, kind of... It is 100% pork. It does feel quite processed, I will say.
No way. I actually wasn't sure if I had taken the plastic off it.
So... It kind of tastes like a very small, cold hot dog.
Yeah, it does. Slightly hard. Do you know what? There's kind of grease on it. There's there's a film of stuff on it. Look, it's your pyramid, so I'll put it down to whatever you want.
Yeah, do you know what? That's less pleasant than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, that's not good.
It wasn't good. And I'm actually fond of meat as a snack and we'll talk about that in another episode, perhaps in the future. But the Pepperami here.
Does it make it onto the pyramid?
Nah.
No, it doesn't. Good.
Are you you're not gonna tell me that's better than a dairy milk?
No, it's definitely not. Not even close.
And if you're picking that over a dairy milk, either you're just trying to get your protein intake up for the day, or
have a word with yourself.
Yeah.
If
All
you
right,
are.
so on mixed pyramid of snacks, we're gonna stay as we are.
Stay as we are. Good call.
Yeah. All right. Fuck off.
So to close out the show, you have your segment.
I have my segment. I have our segment.
Our segment. Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
This podcast does involve you as well. So what I thought we'd do this week, I thought we'd do Distillers on the Ditch.
Yes.
So a very popular segment.
Yeah,
always.
it is.
I think it's important to give a little bit of light to lesser known distilleries.
Yeah,
or
because
lesser
there's
known
loads
brands
around the country that maybe aren't like the number one on social media or like have the biggest marketing budgets. So we just find out who they are.
And there's 40 something distilleries now in Ireland. If you asked me to name them, I could not do that. And I work in the industry. And I don't think you could either.
I don't think we need to.
Don't
don't worry about it. So what's today's Distillers on the Ditch?
So today, because we're in Kilkenny, so we're going to pick the first distillery to open up in Kilkenny in 200 years.
No way.
So a distillery called Ballykeefe Distillery.
Yeah, heard of it, yeah.
So it's about 15-20 minutes out the road here.
They've got a wee horse and cart
on their label.
Yeah.
So it is a farm distillery. It is a farm to glass distillery.
Nice.
Grow all their barley out there.
And distill it on their own estate.
Distill it on their own estate. I think they mature it out, a lot of it out there as well.
Class.
And then one of the cool things is, because it is a farm, they take the draff, which is the a leftover. It's a byproduct of the
whiskey.
Of production, and they use that to feed the cattle, and it's quite a good nutritious feed for cattle. And then they sell those cattle as steaks.
Oh, that's such a holistic approach to the whole process. They have pot still, they have malt, vodka, poaching, gin.
Yeah, they've been around for about 6 years now. Not one that we tend to see huge amount of. It's not really widely available. They brought out their first release, their first 3-year-old about 3 years ago. Thereabouts. And that was kind of around the 400 quid mark. Yes, saucy.
Yeah.
But you can get their continuously available single malt and single pot still now.
For a more reasonable price.
Yeah, I think it's about 60 quid.
Okay,
46% ABV.
But yeah, 450 is a spicy meatball, isn't it?
That is, yeah. And look, I think this is the thing. There's so many distilleries opening up now in Ireland. Everybody's first release is special.
Absolutely.
You're fighting in a very crowded market, you know. I think we've people have looked at the past and gone, well, that sold for that. So this will obviously sell for this much.
Yeah. But Ballykeefe, you can do tours, can you? And
Yeah,
check it out?
I think you can do tours. Yeah, I've been down there for a tour. We went as part of a bigger group. So really, really nice setup. Italian, those kind of Italian stills.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of money, a lot of investment gone into it.
Class.
But it is really cool. There was a guy from Chase Vodka. From working in London, you'd probably know Chase.
Yeah, very,
well.
very famous.
Yeah. Not one I would have known about, and he had been there. He was there when I went down for a tour. But really, really smart guy, and kind of gave us a tour around and gave us the full lowdown on how they were doing the distillation process. I think now he's moved on. There's somebody else there, but it's a cool one, and it is one of the first kind of grain to glass distilleries.
Yeah, that's cool. I like it. Hopefully we'll see a bit more of Ballykeefe on shelves and stuff.
Yeah, because they do a slow gin, they do a putching, they do a variety of different
moonshine?
things. Yeah, I think they do a moonshine.
Curious.
But the Kilkenny Whiskey Centre, the Kilkenny Wine Centre is one of the only places you can get it, because I think they're sold out on Irish malts and they're sold out on Celtic whiskey. But yeah, just one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, have we looked? I haven't been yet, so maybe I'll go and check them out myself.
Yeah, do that. But that's Ballykeefe. We're in Kilkenny. Why wouldn't we do a Kilkenny distillery?
Absolutely. And here, that's the end of the episode. Sorry to tell you.
So sorry.
Yeah, I know. A huge thanks to Chris and the folk at Brewery Corner and all the lovely people we've met today in Kilkenny so far. It's been a great episode.
They're all great episodes.
They are.
It's like dogs. He's a good dog. They're all good dogs.
They're all good dogs.
If you enjoyed that, share the love, subscribe, and we'll see you next time out.
Yeah, ciao for now.
Ciao.
See you later. Hey, I still have beer stick in my teeth.